As the Vikings continue the never-ending story of Kirk Cousins, he'll probably end up with another short-term extension this offseason, a tradition like no other. But if the Vikings were to decide to move on and start fresh at the quarterback position, and I say if only because I'm convinced that Kirk Cousins will be here forever, but if the Vikings decided to move in a different direction and depending on who they had in mind to replace Kirk Cousins at quarterback, presumably in the draft, would the Vikings, if necessary, mortgage the future for a top draft pick in order to select their next quarterback? As in 3 first-round picks and then some for a top 2 overall pick for insert quarterback name here. Forget the traditional route of let's wait for a second or third tier guy to fall to us, and as long as he develops, you never know. Screw that, let's go for the gold. It'd be very anti-Vikings like. They're a traditional, overly patient organization, but I can see the Vikings making a splash move like this. Not in this draft class. If anything, it would happen next year. This draft? No way. You've got the 23rd overall pick, 4 picks total before any compensatory picks are awarded. You have 0 draft capital to work with. You don't have the luxury to say, screw it, let's go all in on Bryce Young and to hell with everything else. You have way too many holes to address this offseason. That, and even if you wanted to, Chicago, they're not going to trade down from 1 to 23. Next year, however, I can totally see the Vikings doing it. You got more wiggle room with draft picks. You can add more capital. A team like San Francisco, I could see them absolutely consider trading for Kirk Cousins, especially among the whole quarterback dilemma of, can someone please stay healthy? God! And in the interest of Cousins waiving his no trade clause, why would he not waive it for San Francisco, knowing he has a much better chance of winning there compared to in Minnesota? I think you can get a first-round pick from the 49ers for Kirk Cousins. They've been knocking at the door for so long. They went to the Super Bowl in 2019 and lost. Back-to-back NFC Championship games the last 2 years. This past one against the Eagles at the Link, they didn't have a quarterback. Well, with Kirk Cousins, durability is his number 1 asset. At some point, if you're John Lynch, you have to know the carpet's going to get pulled from up underneath of you at some point. How many more chances are you going to get at this thing? Get a first-round pick for Cousins, hypothetically. You got 2 next year. You're sitting pretty. And looking at the Vikings themselves, you have a superstar wide receiver. You're still going to have TJ Hockenson. If you end up drafting Jordan Addison in this year's draft, even better. You may find yourself in a Chiefs-like situation with Alex Smith. As in with Kirk Cousins, you are capped. You've reached the pinnacle with him. All that you've accomplished with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, that's literally as good as it gets. So if you're the Vikings front office, what say you? Are you going to stick with the status quo, or are you going to take a chance knowing that there's more to this team than we've seen already? A bidding war next year for Caleb Williams for the number 1 pick? I can see the Vikings getting in on that. In fact, I'm going to wish it into existence. Now, maybe it doesn't even have to get to that point. I'm a big fan of Hendon Hooker, who I believe is light years better than Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, who apparently everybody has mocked ahead of Hendon Hooker. But if you can get him as a mid-round pick, it's a no-brainer. You take him. But if you want to go gaga over a Kentucky quarterback who barely completed a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, or in the case of Anthony Richardson, whoa, look out, he could be the next best thing. He's just a raw prospect. He completed 54% of his passes. What are we doing here? But either way, if the Vikings are going to make a significant move at quarterback, it's going to be between now and next year's draft.